Hi, gang. Welcome to Behind the Rhinestones. I am your host, Dinah Dare, and here I interview some of the stars of the burlesque and cabaret world. If you are enjoying these episodes, please do like and subscribe as episodes come for you on Sundays. Today we have another lovely Londoner with us. Please welcome to the show, ZeeZee Stardust. Hi, ZeeZee. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, I love it. You look so glamorous today as well. I adore
Uh,
it.
Thank you. My wig took me 5 seconds to put on, so just wanted to make sure we were ready for camera.
I love that. I literally have dyed my hair this afternoon, which is why it's so dark. And also, I feel like my eyebrows are like
Oh, it looks
so
good.
intense.
I don't know. I think the more intense, the better. It's nice and vivid, I would say.
It's much. And how are you today? You have just come off the run of 3 weekends in a row of shows at your new sh
Yes.
venues, or how is things?
It's been really good. Again, it's that fun thing where when you're in showgirl mode, you forget to kind of like live life. So I've been in very sparkle to sparkle. So being able to actually sit down today and be like, oh wow, I can actually like do some human things like clean my house rather than worry about the next week of shows. So it's nice in that way. But also being able to be glamorous and pretty is always really fun.
Yeah, every weekend being able to be like, oh, it's a glam star. But
Hmm.
I know exactly what you say. If you're doing that every weekend, life admin is really not on the top of the list of things to do the next day. You're like, it's a next week problem.
Oh, definitely. And even in my human life, I have a full-time work that I do. So, between that and then cabaret, it's quite a nice little balancing act that happens there.
Oh yeah, I might ask you about that later actually, because I'm
Yeah,
on a
go for
similar
it.
boat, and I always love hearing about how people manage that. But before we do, I do not know this, so I'm very intrigued. What is your kind of origin story into burlesque?
Yeah, absolutely. So, how I started into burlesque was I'd always loved the 1950s, 1940s kind of vintage burlesque.
Hmm.
So, in my younger years, those images of Marilyn Monroe or images of Bettie Page or anyone who was kind of coming up in that scene was just very pivotal to me. So, like,
Hmm.
it affected who I was growing up, like, really loving that vintage Hollywood glamour. And then I, by chance, went to a burlesque show for Halloween with some friends that we went downstairs and they were having a free burlesque show. I saw everybody performing and I was like, oh, wow, this is actually beautiful and something that might be interesting to me. But I didn't start right away then. It was more just like that's where the seeds kind of started was a random basement bar in Toronto. And then flash forward, I moved to London and was in a relationship with somebody that was not amazing. So a lot of my time was kind of in that relationship, and I didn't have a lot of time to make friends or really get to know a lot of people outside of my like work bubbles or people that I'd met when I first moved.
Hmm.
So I decided it might be good for me to take some classes and try to meet some people and expand my London horizons. So I took a burlesque class and went with a friend. She did not love it. I loved it. So it kind of turned into something where I was having fun meeting people, making friends, and then left that terrible relationship and continued on my burlesque journey. So it was throw out that and bring in this, and I've not looked back, so it's I feel like some people have a similar story to me, which is very interesting, but because like, thinking that that's how a lot of people have come into it, but it just feels very unique to yourself even if it's something that everyone relates to.
I definitely think there's an element of when you start burlesque, almost like a sounds so cheesy, like a rebirth. You find a different part of yourself.
Oh,
And you do change and your priorities change. I think everyone I speak to said the same thing. When you get into burlesque, it kind of takes over your life for a bit.
a little. I think my human version of me and my character, ZeeZee Stardust, um, they are very similar. I think the morals of who they are at the heart of of my character is the same as who I am when I'm outside of cabaret. But I
Hmm.
do think that where ZeeZee kind of is heightened is she'll take the joke a lot of the time. So if it's something where, okay, let's be silly, ZeeZee will go, yeah, whatever, let's do it. Whereas Xandra sometimes is like, ooh, let me think on that for 1 second before I make that choice. So it's kind of a more unfiltered version of who I am at the heart of
Hmm.
everything.
I love that though. So it's that kind of exaggerated version of
A
yourself.
little. Yeah, I think exaggerated. I still think I'm a big personality outside of the wig, but I think there is that moment of, ooh, I'm ZeeZee Stardust now. That means the sparkle is on. That means you're a little bit more jaunty than you would be. And like you kind of give yourself the ability to be quiet when you're in your human form versus when you're in your cabaret form. You have to be on.
Yes. Which can also be exhausting.
Oh, definitely.
As you said, the kind of, oh, sparkle, sparkle, and then you go, oh, I'm just gonna lie down, not do
Yeah.
anything.
My human
So
form loves a nap, whereas ZeeZee, she's just going.
yeah, I'm kind of the same. Um, so how did you kind of come to find your style? And how would you kind of describe your style as well?
Yeah, so I had Fufu Kaboom actually gave me a really nice description of it. She's like, "You're quite wholesome in the way that you do your burlesque," and she's like, "And it's almost cheesecake, but it's not, because
Mm,
I'm in no way a cheesecake." But I I would say ZeeZee is comedic in everything that she does, because again, she takes the joke. Um, she's always happy to like make fun of herself in the way of creation, but also at the same time, the visual aesthetic of ZeeZee is very 1950s Hollywood. It's very sparkles. It's very like big costumes, extravagant. Like the visual element doesn't always equate to the comedic style or the silliness inside of who she is. Um, I've also said like a lot of my acts, I just want the audience to have a good time.
mm.
So whatever I'm doing, whatever silly act I put on, it's just for the enjoyment of the audience at every point of it.
No, that totally makes sense. And did you start off comedic, or was that something
No.
you found along the way? Oh, I love this. Yes.
So, the first iteration of ZeeZee Stardust was almost either very, very classic,
Okay.
like disgustingly classic, or very horror, which is
Oh, wow. Okay, did not
I
see
know,
that. Okay.
because a lot of my, like, original versions of the thoughts of my acts were, like, quite gore or, like,
Okay.
quite, I'm like, "Ooh, let's make it a little creepy," and then actual me kind of, like, stopped and went, "Oh, no, 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 let's look at this." Um,
Mm.
I've got so this is kind of a weird one of, like, how I found the comedic side of me,
Okay.
which was a few friends of, mine when we first started burlesque, again, making friends from classes. We did this thing, that we would call, our burlesque nights in, where
Okay.
we would challenge each other to try something new in burlesque. So every month we would give each other a song or a theme and be like, I know that you can do this, but I'd like you to try this. So we would come together and try something that we're not used to like push the boundary of like what we can do. So it was nice because you could then give your friend who's quite cheesecakey, something super, like, sexy and grungy and fun, and they've
Yeah.
got that song that they then can interpret in their way
Yeah.
and make it a good time. Um, During one of our burlesque nights in, a friend of mine gave me "I Believe in a Thing Called Love," by The Darkness, and
Yeah.
was like, "That one, do that song," and although I'd been, like, very, very classic in a lot of the things that I was picking or, like, a little bit horror, um, once I did I Believe in a Thing Called Love, I made it comedic, and it felt right. Like, it was
Mm.
just this moment of me being like, "Oh, okay, that's just clicked. That's where I need to lean." And then from there, it's ZeeZee kind of, like, built her way into that, but at the heart of it, she's still spooky, so
That's such a fun way to try different things and work out because I think a lot of us maybe go through a process of trying different things on stage and seeing what works and what fits and what's comfortable before you find your style. So that's such a fun idea to do with friends as well.
It also like, I would definitely encourage newbies to try it, because it meant that we weren't on stage, we were just in somebody's living room, all
Hmm.
of us just having a go, nobody's laughing, you don't even need a full costume, you just need the, "If I do this, I'll have a costume that looks like this,"
Yeah.
and people in the room being able to go, "Yeah, let's just enjoy, have a good time, no drama, no stress."
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Oh, that should definitely be a thing.
Yeah,
I can
we
see
should
that
try.
becoming a thing. Yeah. You may have
It
started a movement.
Yeah. It was something that I considered how to make it into an actual show at one point,
Mhm.
but it's one that I don't think at the moment I'm at, but it could come back. It could be a thing.
That could be
So
fun.
copywritten, and nobody take that idea.
So, what is your typical kind of creative process like then?
Yeah. Um, it depends. So sometimes I'll have a really great costume, and then that inspires the idea, or
Hmm.
sometimes I'll have a really great song, and that inspires the idea. I think there's a lot of visual cues that I would say make sense for ZeeZee. So when I'm thinking of different things that matter to my character, I'll think of like, well, this is fun. Let's think about that. Let's think about the way to do that. So my love act is kind of a good example of that, where um, when I think of ZeeZee, the colors that really come to me are red and black a lot of the time, um, which a lot of burlesquers have. But those colors tend to be where I push.
Hmm.
And I wanted something that felt close to home as a single lady. So a little breakup act felt like something fun to do. So with that, I found a really gorgeous corset. I upgraded it so that it was nice and sparkly and actually worked for cabaret. And then from there, it was building out like what visually the act should look like, what visually the silhouette should be, and then from there playing with the song, which that one is kind of a drag-esque act in a way, because there's a lot of lip sync, there's a lot of like silliness. There's a whole all by myself Celine Dion moment. So it's, yeah, just
I think that's the only act of yours I've actually seen in person. Do you know that?
no, you saw, I think you've seen Propeller.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
I have seen Propeller. I love
Mm,
that act. It's so clever.
yeah. I do love that one.
I
It's
forgot about that. Yeah, I have seen
it,
that
it
one.
is one that drives me up the wall every time though, because the mechanics behind it,
It's
absolutely
so
mad.
clever though.
Oh, thank you.
I really enjoy that one. It's just
Yeah,
something quite unique, and I think that's quite hard to do.
yeah.
But no,
And
you're right. I
again,
have seen.
who thinks of propeller boobs? No one.
Yeah, but it works so well.
Yeah, it does.
On top of all of that, obviously we were chatting at the start about shows. So you also you now co-produce
Yeah.
with Aya, who we've had on a few times. But how did you get into producing on your own first?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Clandestine almost started as kind of exactly what we're doing now with our more intimate nights. So, originally, pre pandemic, I had decided that I was going to start like a little cabaret, and it was almost going to be an invite only. So, you would
Okay.
get sent out an invitation to come to Clandestine Cabaret, a secret underground cabaret. And the cast as well would be like nobody would know who the cast was until you actually came to the show.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a secret experience. And I wanted it to be quite small because again, it was just me that was going to be doing it. So I was thinking that was something manageable. That from
Yeah.
a at that time like decently new performer was thinking about like something that I could manage, something that could be just me, and something that makes sense for like a fun cabaret experience. Um, but happily, a pandemic happened, and that's weird to say happily,
I
but
was going to say you're the only person that said happy.
no, but it's happy in the sense that it changed the direction of what clandestine cabaret was quite
Yep.
drastically,
Hmm.
um, and was born out of being really frustrated with the online community of cabaret at that time. Um, because if people remember, if you were around during that pivotal moment. Um, at one point, it was a lot of people just performing to their screen and the music not working, and so much just happening in the background of technology that was limiting us from actually having a good experience and in an enjoyable experience. But instead, it was people just trying to keep the scene alive in a way that made sense. So that's when I got very frustrated because if I'm sitting around watching something on screen, I really don't want it to be bad quality. And that's not knocking any of the shows because they were all doing their best and doing what they could during that time. But for me, I was really inspired by music videos and cinematic, like movies and the art direction behind everything. Um, so instead of just running clandestine as like a secret little club event, it became a cinematic universe of people coming together to make mini movies of their acts. It didn't mean that they had to perform their burlesque specifically in the way that they would on stage, but instead it's like a reimagining of it, being able to add moments in that you wouldn't think normally you'd be able to get across on stage, but then also like tell the story online. Um, so that's kind of how it was born, was me then going to a bunch of my friends and saying, "I need a cast that will understand what I'm trying to do. You down?" And from there, Clandestine happened.
And now it's got such a wonderful reputation. Couldn't do that word there, sorry. It's got such a wonderful reputation as a show. You consistently get such high quality headliners and casts. You've had obviously our current queen, you've had Betty, you've like if I had to go back, you'd have had some unreal cast
We've had some
members.
insane people. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we've had Frankie Fictitious online. We've
Hmm.
had Lily Snatch Dragon, Lolo Brow, and then again, so many global like amazing people like Jezebel, Cleopantha, who's a good friend of the show. Just so many people that when you look at the list, you just jaw drop of wow, amazing. And again, I always pinch myself when I'm like excited about the next person who's coming to the show, or if we're in conversations with people that you love, I'm like, "This is insane. I can't wait." Um, yeah,
I think what's outside of ticket sales,
yes.
what are some of the biggest challenges to producing the show?
I think Aya will back me up on this one, the video, because unlike other cabarets, that majority of what they have to focus on is like management of the actual performers, management of ticket sales, and then management of promotion with that. And again, making sure music and tech notes are in. We also have the added layer of we do full video within our acts.
Hmm.
So either the performers will bring in their own video. If the performers don't bring in their video, Aya and I have to make it. And we're also creating our own videos for our acts and our opening number video, um, which again, it's we always try to put like a little bit of extra time to making sure that looks really good. So it's an added layer that makes us like a glutton for punish. Like we're making that decision on our own, but I think it's really important to us that that's something that's inherently clandestine when we do it.
Was that the decision to keep the videos? Is that when you moved from online to in person and that online part of the video, the kind of cinematic universe you're talking about, was what made you guys different? It differentiated you. You wanted to make sure that you still had that when you went into physical space.
Oh, definitely. But we also, at the same time, really love what the video brings to it.
Mm.
Because again, there's acts where in my head, I might have a visual for it, but like on stage, it's very hard to put me in like a grand palace walking through dressed as Marie Antoinette. Whereas if I have a beautiful video behind of me in
Hmm.
a grand palace dressed as Marie Antoinette, it will then take the act to like a different level than if I'm just on stage in the
Yeah.
costume. So it it's having that immersive element that I think is really important to everyone because who doesn't want to feel like Beyonce on stage with like backup things behind you, making you look even better.
It's such a unique take on it, I think, as well, which is what makes your show stand out.
Thanks.
Um, I the other day we were talking, and she sent me the video that you two did of Young Frankenstein.
Oh, a classic of ours. That was a full pandemic, Young Frankenstein. Me as Igor and the bride is what I called it. Um, but yeah, yeah, again, when you look at those videos too, you can see that it's homemade. You can see that we have no budget between it. Like Aya's glasses in it, I think they're little like toilet paper rolls.
Yeah.
And I'm dressed as Igor with like a like blanket around me, just like black makeup all down, just going in the funniest little face I can do. And then putting all of these like electric bolt. I'm like, just put more electricity. Um, for people who haven't seen it, it's great. You should come to a clandestine cabaret, namely when we actually play it. But I think like we do quite a few different ones. So we've got a Clockwork Orange spoof, we've got a Mean Girl spoof. We have a great one where all of us wanted to be Jennifer Coolidge and couldn't decide on what movie we wanted to do. So all of our team and us did Jennifer Coolidge impressions instead of an opening of a movie. Because normally it's either a movie or TV or something topical that's happening that we'll try to like keep the visual opening to. But no, all of us wanted to be Jennifer Coolidge. So
I mean, who wouldn't want to be Jennifer? Cool-
I know she's an icon.
She is an icon.
Yeah.
Is the so obviously you're doing this new show at the moment, the kind of
Yes.
smaller one. Do you still have the videos for that, or is that the more intimate, smaller
No, so
show?
this one's kind of a throwback to the original idea of
Hmm.
clandestine, where it is more intimate, it's smaller, but we're still giving that same quality of really great performers, high quality acts, a little bit of silliness because we're in the middle of Chelsea, which, as anybody who's been to London knows, it's very much showgirl sparkles and very upscale. So we like to bring that but also bring our own little version of clandestine. So we're still picking the silly acts, we're still picking the weird acts, and we're just bringing them into a space that isn't normally known for having those silly fun acts, which kind of breaks the barrier of the other shows.
Again, something different, but also you are introducing your audience to the fact that burlesque is more than just classic. And we love classic, but it is more than just classic.
Oh yes, completely.
So you produce,
Yes,
you perform, and you have a day job.
I
How
do.
do you manage all of those things?
Badly. No, I like to think of it as you're trying to balance all of the scales, and there's things that sometimes you have to put down and hold, and some things that you have to like dedicate more time and energy into. So, a lot of the time, it'll be things like dating life is non-existent because if you're trying to balance somebody else while you're also balancing a full-time career, a full-time cabaret life, it's a lot. Um, but I love what I do in every facet. So I love ZeeZee Stardust. I love who she is, what she creates, and everything in between. I also love who I am in my human life and the work that I do. And I'm quite proud of the achievements that I get from that and where I've got to in my career. But then also, Clandestine is a baby to me and Aya, and we love it and we want it to continue to grow and we want it to be as big as we can get it. So we put a lot of effort into that, whether it's sitting around really late at night making videos or waking up extra early to send over tracks and like just finding ways to really make it work between full-time life.
It's a hard balancing act. And you're right, sometimes things do need to get put down and you pick up things back up. Like you've just come off a run of your 3 weeks of shows, your 3 weekends of shows. So like I imagine now it's like we talked about now you're doing like housework because you had to put
Yes.
that down. So now you have to pick that up.
Mhm. It's kind of just how it is. You have to just think about balancing a social life in between that. I've got some of the best friends in the world and amazing cabaret artists that I'm close to that you don't a lot of the time get to just sit down and go get a drink. I think Aya and I have said it a couple times where when we see each other, it tends to be show stuff. And then
Hmm.
every once in a while, we'll like have a moment where we're like, should we just go hang out? Like we hardly ever really get a stop to be like, should we just invest in our friendship for a
Yeah.
moment? Um, but I think we both understand how busy both of us are. So it's one that end of day, if we see each other at a show or if we see each other when we're being friends, we understand why. But it's
I think
tough.
it's hard because like when you aren't doing a show, you kind of just want to switch off sometimes. So it's hard to also be like, oh, then you'll hang out with your sparkle friends. Because I think
Hmm.
even if you're talking about non-burlesque stuff, you can still it still ends up coming round to that some way because it's your main sort of vested interest that you have with that person. So
Definitely.
you're still not really switching off from it.
Hmm. Oh yeah, cabaret always finds its way into everything. That That's again because the people who continue with cabaret love it and become, like, obsessed with it in a fun, like, healthy sometimes way, but I think anybody who loves burlesque and loves cabaret, I think, is a stand-up person. I think
Mhm.
that means you've got immaculate taste.
I wholeheartedly concur. Do you have any advice for like newer performers or newer producers, especially?
Yeah, absolutely. So for newer producers, I would say maybe think about it and take your time before you start producing. I think when I was a new performer as well too, I was like, I'm going to start a cabaret. I'm going to do this. I'm like that was my goal because I wasn't seeing a lot of great cabarets in the space and I wasn't seeing a lot of people producing. And again, it's very tempting to be like, let me make a show, but you don't actually have the fundamentals of what's needed to actually produce a show. And even the understanding of like a bare minimum split. Like, again, if you're going to do a split show, actually being able to cover a base salary of it, or if you're going to be doing something where you know that there's certain like guidelines on things that you should be having in shows, as in like safety for performers, making sure that the venue is understanding of exactly what you're putting on stage and like the requirements that are needed, making sure that you've got like a wonderfully diverse group of people together and not just casting your best friends over and over again. And like the memory of that this is a job for people. So people are taking this as full-time income. So you can't go to a high-ranking burlesquer and ask them for pennies. It's just having that kind of EQ before you start producing is really important. And I say that knowing that like some producers back in the day who started shows very young into their burlesque career are still amazing producers. I think Beatrix Valhalla is like a great example of that. They started their cabaret, Wicked Wonderland, very, very early into performing. And it was a great show that I was a part of a lot of the time. Because again, friends. Um, but I started doing that show, and it was a nice space for all of us to perform, and it was good people, and you made a lot of really great connections. But we were so young. And
Mm.
again, it wasn't to the same level of what Beatrix produces now, because Beatrix is a fantastic producer. I think for anybody who's looking for amazing shows and amazing people to look up to, Beatrix is one of those that even though they were a new performer at the time, they hit the ground running and they did amazing and they've continued to do amazing. So I'm very lucky to call them a friend and call them a collaborator because again, we produce like they produce within London as well too. So I've been lucky enough to be a part of their shows and be a part of things that they're doing. So
Mm.
um, there are the exceptions to the rule. As much as I've gone to newbie shows where the producers, I'm not going to name names, either were like, "Oh, this is a cost outside of my bracket," and although they've hired people and asked people to take cuts on their costs, or yes, or the venue didn't understand what was being booked on stage and yelled at performers for coming on stage and stripping to pasties, and not understanding that female performers are not the only thing, and then getting angry when a male performer is there and getting and stripping. So again, there's a lot of moments of kind of that EQ of when you're young and you're starting and you don't have the equipment to be able to do it. Um, you're keen to do it. And yes, I love seeing new spaces and I love seeing new producers because we need more producers and we need more really great shows, but we need it to be like actually thought out. Like take the time before you run. So that's on producing. I would say for new performers, you don't need to be who you start with. Like I think as we kind of talked about, you don't know who your character is going to be until you've had time on stage, until you've actually like sat down and started thinking about it. But I think you should always like think with intention. My early days, an act would like pop into my head and I'd be like, "Oh, here's a weird idea that I'm going to do. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to take the time. I don't need to actually like put together everything." And young me would be like, "Yeah, let's do it," and commit to it even though it's not viably an act that's going to get booked. Like
Yeah.
nobody really cares about my very very niche obsession with Fall Out Boy to the point that I do a full Fall Out Boy act in like with very very niche references. But they do
I
care about
mean, I would watch
I,
that. I'm not gonna.
I would. but
I'm
it's one of
like,
those, yeah, I know, book it. But it's um it's one of those things where like when you're thinking of who your character is, there's so many acts that I'm like, is it worth the money that I'm going to put forward to it? Because burlesque can be so restrictive to people who do not have the funds to be able to do it. And again, it's one of those things that you can purchase things over time and you can save and you can do what you can do. And I, again, as a newbie performer, was not making a lot of money and still in performing do not make a lot of money. But I was able to like find friends who were good at skills, or like I could teach myself a skill like rhinestoning. So I can take a very cheap Primark bra and I then could make it look nice and expensive. Or I could see that another performer was going to sell a piece of costume or a prop or something, and I would buy that knowing that in a year I might actually use that piece. So I'm a little bit of a costume hoarder in that way of like when I see a deal for a costume, I gravitate to it. Yeah, definitely.
I think that there's so many valid points there that I wanted to kind of pick up. Like, I do think this is such an expensive thing, and I have definitely done that. I have made full acts that have either never seen the light of day or went out on stage twice
Yeah.
because I just got excited by an idea, threw money at it, and
Mhm.
then went, "Oh, this doesn't actually work."
Yeah,
And I think that's a mistake that's really easy to make when you start, to be
yeah.
honest. So I think that's excellent advice. And then the thing you're talking about there around producers, do you think there's enough like resources or guidance out there for newer producers? Like, how did you find it? Was this something that you learned for trial and error? Did you speak to someone like a mentor? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so for me, I come from a background of being a nerd who did theater all through school.
Hmm.
So a lot of what I know is from like high school drama, where I'm like in the back of the stage, you know how everybody should act. You know that like you need to be doing these things and these things should happen. Um, Overall, I would say like I found my like producing feat through watching really good producers and kind of picking up things that I liked backstage. So
Hmm.
one thing with clandestine is like we remember that like the people that are there, we should thank them. Like that's like probably it's like the smallest thing, but there's so many times that like you'll go to a show, the producer won't even talk to you or just like is too busy doing something, but actually having the producers take the time to say thank you so much for being here, or like taking an extra step and like giving you a card that says thank you, or like little things like that that really make the difference and make it a memorable show. And when you've done good shows, you're like, wow, that's how this should be. And then when you've done bad shows, you know, okay, let's learn from that. Or if you're at a show and you see something bad happen on stage, you're like, I know what to do now if that situation happens for me. So going to shows, I think, is a great resource for people to actually learn a little bit more. um, Aya's probably said this a few times. We also, within Clandestine, allow for people to shadow us. So if there's people who would like to learn a skill set within Clandestine Cabaret, we have people that our team are very happy to have people come in and shadow. So we have a fabulous tech. So Pixel Dust is
Yeah.
an amazing tech. We've worked with them multiple times and they've saved our butt more times than we can count. And for people who have never done tech before, that again, you might be thinking about teching your own show. You might be thinking about like, how would you set up or how would you begin becoming a tech? Pixel's happy for you to shadow through one of our shows. So you can come watch the show for free. Pixel's there to talk you through how they set up the Q Lab, how they set up all of our content, how they would set up other shows. So it can be from like a beginner stance, or it can be from like you've done a couple things, but you don't know everything.
Yep.
And having that is amazing. And Aya and myself, we're happy to do anything around producing. So we'll take the person out for coffee first, chat through any questions they have, and then they can shadow us as we run the show. So it's quite nice. And our fabulous stage manager, Faye Wildfire, for anybody, again, stage management is such an easy route in to learn about how shows should run. And Faye is there to just take people around and show them how they should run a show so that then if they're asked to go run a show, they can easily say, yes, I do have experience in this without actually having that experience from a first show. So it's it's helping to kind of give that boost where you can and give back to the community where you can, but also like if you want to come to a clandestine show, it's an easy way to get a free ticket to meet some of the great performers or talk to the producers.
Yep.
Because again, Aya and I will remember people that we've produced, like come in to like shadow things, and we might then think of them for future. Like, let's say if one of our team is sick, we'll probably hire you to come in and help support. So, having those kind of like your face is in front of somebody really helps to hopefully get people through the door.
No, that totally makes sense. And that's such a wonderful thing that you guys offer as well, because there's not a lot of shows that openly offer it. Like, I think there's probably a few shows that you could message and ask, but then people don't always think to message and ask.
Yeah.
So I
We
like that
also
it's something that you guys offer openly.
Yeah, it's not something that we promote a lot of the time, and we probably should for future, but, it is one that we wanna make sure that new people who are coming into producing are doing it in a safe way, and I think
Hmm.
that's a way that asking to shadow a producer is never a bad thing. Um, I think there's so many people that I think from, like, a hosting point of view too, there's people that I've messaged before to be like, "You're an amazing host. Do you teach?" Like, you can ask a lot of people, "Do you teach?" And they'll either give you a yes or no, or they'll give you advice, and I think, um, I'm very lucky that I've been able to meet some amazing hosts and people that, they then would book me for things to then host when they can't host, or they put me forward for things when they can't. So it's that kind of mentality of like once you've kind of worked with people a few times, they know how you work, and you can then get more bookings or you can get more work in the behind the scenes of like cabaret in general. So yeah.
Just kind of off that, obviously talking about like your performers, your shows, whatever. What do you want to see more of in the scene?
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, there was a mentality of that people would come to shows a lot of the time. So it was something where newbies would always end up at shows to learn and to actually like go support the scene and really help to drive the community. And I feel very, very lucky that I grew up in the cabaret scene with some of these amazing performers that have skyrocketed and done fantastic things. Like, as I said, Fufu Kaboom, Belle de Bois, like there's amazing people that I would say are like burlesque sisters of mine that we
Yep.
all came up same time. We're all still working in the industry. We're doing things, but we each have very different styles. but we would be nowhere if we weren't at those newbie shows with each other, like front row, screaming as loud as you could to like help put that person like a little bit forward for future shows. And I think we kind of lost it after the pandemic, of a lot of people just going to support your friends.
Yeah.
And although like the community is great because there's people like the Black Burlesque Festival and Sadie, who's doing amazing things in this area of cabaret, or the Bit and Peach, or so many amazing groups of people that are doing so much to kind of continue to bring these people together and come support each other and create something. There's not enough. There's not enough of people actually still going to shows or buying tickets ahead of time at like the cheapest rate possible that a producer can give you, to go and actually see these amazing people. So um, that's what I'd like to see more of, is just a renaissance of what used to be, of everybody kind of going back to that. I understand, again, it's expensive, and like being able to go to every show is not always an option for people, but us with Clandestine Cabaret, we offer our pay it forward. So sometimes there'll be tickets that are available. Or again, as I said, if you want to learn a skill, you can come in and watch the show and like be a part of that skill set as well. So there's ways that producers will go out of their way to make sure that you can come to the show, even if it's not like, if finances are a barrier. So um, just, I think there just needs to be more of people actually taking the time to go do it.
I massively echo that. I think I was also a pre-pandemic baby.
Yeah.
Is the best way to put it. And I remember being at shows all the time, not just performing, but seeing my friends and
Yeah.
always having friends in the crowd. And now I've tend to find that we do have a few schools in Glasgow, a few different ones, and it's they basically only go to the shows that are associated with that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go to other
See more.
things. Like
Yeah.
we had a show two weeks ago now where we had Elena Candela and Lou Sapphire.
Yeah.
Um, and there was barely anyone that I recognized in the crowd. And I was like, these people don't perform here all the time. Why are you not here?
Yeah.
And it was on Halloween, and I get it, people are busy or they had work or whatever, but that happens a lot. I see amazing lineups and I don't see my industry
People.
peers there, or even newer people I know in the scene there. They're just not there.
Hmm. I think it feels like, it's probably not being taught in schools, because when again when we started, I would go to a show or find out about a show because a friend of mine was in the show. So it
Mm.
would be like a new there was an amazing show that used to be on, Vicious Von Dixon's vaudeville in London, and it was a free show, completely free to go. It was produced, by Vicious Von Dixon, so Ryan Schultz, who still runs cabaret within London, um, through Underbelly. For anyone, it is still a free night, so just RSVP and you can watch amazing cabaret performers there too. Um, so they used to run a show that it was free to attend, and like no barriers for anybody to come to it. You had these amazing, great performers on. You always had like a high standard headliner, and you had a newbie slot. And a lot of the time, those newbie slots were friends of ours. So we would go and support at that show, or we would then find a different show that was on that a friend was performing at, and we'd go to that one. And being able to speak to the producers was often enough of them to be like, hey, let me consider you for a future show, or let me think about like ways that we can work together in the future. Or again, if they need a stage manager, they're like, hey, this person who's seen our show knows how it runs.
Yeah.
I can easily bring them in and teach them how to do that really fast. So there's there's this, as we both said, there's this mentality of you used to go to shows to see your friends. And right now, even if we've got like amazing performers on the stage, like we had Aurora Nova last night, who's fantastic. Again, half of those flips I could never do. She's not in town all the time. And being able to come to a show like that and being able to see her and even like take a minute to talk to her, you learn so much.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like having those moments to speak to these big performers will make you a better performer. And being able to speak to producers and speak to people in those spaces just keeps you at the top of mind for things.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's lost in current society of cabaret.
It's so strange. I don't understand why. It's a mentality I don't get.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
yeah.
the community is why I'm here. Making friends in that cabaret class back in the day was the
Mhm.
reason that I kept being ZeeZee Stardust. If I went to class and I didn't make friends and didn't have anybody there, I wouldn't have kept. And I'm still like great friends with everybody who I came up with,
Mhm.
um, and like did first shows with. So
I
it's,
know.
I don't know,
I know it's weird. Maybe it'll change.
maybe. Well,
Um, so instead of the future for the scene, what does the future hold for ZeeZee? What's some of your kind of career goals or things that you really want to do?
yeah, so ZeeZee loves hosting. She's done it for a very long time now. But I think next year is going to be one where she's going to lean a little bit more into some of it, and actually take the time to work on some of my host acts rather than throw them together. So that's just ZeeZee is actually taking the time to get better at hosting where she can.
Mm.
Um, which I don't think I'm a bad host, but I do think I will never be some of these amazing hosts like Lolo Brow or um, Benjamin Loosh is like another amazing one from Double R Club and just a fantastic, fantastic host. So being able to just take more time um, to work on that, I think that's a big part. Um, Next year, there's a lot of acts that I put aside because I wanted to upgrade them, and I really want to bring them back in the
Yay.
2026. So that just means a lot of like costuming, a lot of planning, a lot of actually putting things back onto the stage. So it's going to be
Which is
trial and error.
scary. That's the scary part, putting something on stage that you haven't had in a while because you will have evolved. So it's not just a case of the costuming. Chances are you actually need to revisit the whole act.
Oh, the whole acts, yeah. I think I've teased it quite enough, my Marie Antoinette act, which at one point I was really well known for that one, like
Mm.
within the scene. So it was one of those when you booked me, that was one of my heavy rotation bookings.
Okay.
And I took it off because I just didn't feel like it was grand enough.
Mm.
And then now it's absolute mammoth. Um, So it's like full wig, full everything, like it is a lot. But who it was at the beginning is so different than who it is now, and like costume upgrades and act upgrades. It's not going to be the same act that I used to get booked at all the time because there's no growth there if it's the same act. But I'm excited to have it back on stage, and I'm excited to have it in my repertoire again. Um, but I don't know when because I still need to do so much on it.
That's like me. Like I took my Harley Quinn act out of rotation 2 years ago now was the last time I did her. She needed an upgrade desperately.
Yeah.
And I really like the core story is great, but the choreo just felt really basic now. So I was
Mhm.
like, I need to revisit it. The costume is done.
Yeah.
I actually just need to make myself do the act.
Mhm.
So I'm with you. My commitment is to do it at some point next year.
Yeah. Choreo, ZeeZee and choreo do not go. I'm not I'm not a dancer by any means, but I can move, and that's as good as we get. So yeah,
That's
when I
normally what I mean by choreo, to be fair. I am not a trained dancer. I am not anything like that. It is more, how do I get across the story? I think that
yeah.
Harley was my first act.
Mhm.
So I am
It's
very different. I
oh,
move very differently now.
massively, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we were that might actually be really fun to think of as a concept for a future show of every performer performing their first act in, like, first half the way that they did it the first time, and then second half the way that they, do it now. So,
Oh,
bringing
that
back
would be so interesting, but also so almost embarrassing doing it the first.
yeah, but how fun would that be? Like, yeah,
That
it's
would
just
be fun.
cringe.
Yeah, because I feel like my first version of that, I've still got videos of it that are hidden from the internet, and it's just very like basic bump and grind burlesque, and you can
Mm,
see how like the story's still there, and I think the story's still solid, but how I move doesn't really make sense with the story that I'm telling at all. And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, I no, no, it's embarrassing to even think about.
Yeah, my first one, I think costume is a huge part of, like, who ZeeZee is, like, from the beginning. I made a full star headdress that was lit up, and then I had a black, like, it's like a slinky black dress,
Mm.
but we had the worst teacher in the entire world, and I won't name her 'cause she's still in the scene, and she didn't teach us anything and was very, like I don't think there's a single thing I learned from teaching with her, but the costume is hot glue and thrown on rhinestones because I was getting burnt so much that I was getting angry at myself that I did not want to make the costume anymore. So
Mhm.
it's absolutely disgusting the amount of rhinestones that I just threw on. They're not even front facing because I was getting burnt by the hot glue, which now, me thinking about it, I'm like, "Wow, I could have learned so much," like, with resources of actually sitting down and, like, talking to other people, but because we had a teacher who was very, very, like, not good at telling you how to do basic things, um, it was the hot glue with rhinestones.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That just gives me hot glue, just gives me the fear.
Oh, yeah. No, I still got I definitely still have scars from it, from that first costume, which, like, again, thinking back to it, I'm like, I wish I could, like, shake baby ZeeZee and be like, "No, don't do that," or "Learn to sew," like, "Do this." But,
But just don't do that, please.
yeah. No, there was so much that I could have learned at that time, but I did not, so it's fine.
Well, where can our lovely watchers and listeners follow you to see this act come out next year?
Yeah, so if you head over to Instagram, I'm ZeeZee.Stardust. So head over there. You can see me often in random costumes or being silly. Love a behind the scenes of me just doing something strange. Um, or if you're interested, you can come to Clandestine Cabaret. We have our shows in London, which we've got all of our 2026 dates for our Two Brewers show. So you can pre-buy now if you want to snag yourself a deal. We've got our cheap tickets right now, so our early birds. So if you already know that you're going to be here in October, you can secure yourself a ticket now. But we also will have shows that we'll announce throughout the year. But I think there's an aim for us to continue to grow and travel maybe and see some more spaces with clandestine. So we hope that people are keeping an eye on what we're doing there and supporting us along the way.
Amazing. Oh, you know that I keep an eye, mostly because Aya tells me what's going on anyway. But
Yeah.
I'm always on your socials, like, oh.
Yeah. Look
Um,
at that.
but thank you so much for joining me and for looking so glamorous while doing it. And hopefully I will see you in person at some point next year, love.
I hope so too. Maybe I'll do another little Glasgow visit to come say hi. But
Yes, please. And we can
thank you.
go get coffee and have a drink and have a chat.
Let's
I would
do
love
it.
that.
You can show me all the places. But thank you so much for having me. And again, if yeah, I'm always happy to jump on and chat again. As you know, I'm chatty. But thank you guys.
No, thank you so much, my lovely. I'll speak to you later.
Thank you. Bye.